If one thing's for certain, two things for sure. There are no mistakes or accidents in life. Everything happens as it should, and that's why you are with me right here, right now. Let's get it. Sheehaw! All right, so today we're going to take a look at the AFC North as a whole, pre-training camp edition. We're going to take a look at each team individually, tell you how they did last year, the adjustments that they made, and my predictions for the season coming up as it stands right now before there are any injuries, training camp cuts, pickups, or anything like that. So let's jump into it. First, with all due respect, we're going to start off with the AFC North champ, Cincinnati Bengals. They ended the 2021 season with a 10-7 record and advanced all the way to the Super Bowl. They didn't win it, but they came damn close. And from where Cincinnati has been in the past 30 years, I know since I've been growing up, this has come out of left field. Nobody expected it during the season. Everybody thought that they made a mistake in drafting Jamar Chase. They thought that they should have got Penei Sewell, solidified the offensive line, and went from there. But to much surprise, this is an offensive league, and offensive weapons tend to kind of save the day for most teams. So let's take a look into their production last year. So last season, Cincinnati offensively was 23rd in the run, 7th in the pass, 13th overall in total offense. On defense, they were 5th against the run, 26th against the pass, and 18th overall. Now, they were kind of middle of the pack overall in offense and defense, but those explosive plays, they kind of made it work for them and helped advance. They had timely turnovers, key receptions. Jamar Chase just balled the hell out, and that's kind of what took them over the top in the playoffs. All right, let's get into the Cincinnati Bengals additions and subtractions. So first off, to my surprise, the Cincinnati Bengals picked up Lyle Collins. To me, he was one of the better offensive linemen in the NFL, and I prayed and I prayed and I prayed the Baltimore Ravens would pick him up. He was first available through trade, and he would have only cost $10 million a year. Now, it sounds like a lot, but for premier offensive lineman, that's not a lot of money by far. And with us having Alejandro Villanueva, I thought this was a no-brainer. But the Cowboys released him. He went and visited the Cincinnati Bengals. Apparently, he didn't make it out of Cincinnati, and that was that. Now the offensive line was kind of the Achilles heel of the Bengals last year. So what do you think they went out and did during free agency? They shored up their offensive line. Along with Collins, they picked up Alex Kappa, Super Bowl champion from Tampa Bay, Ted Karras, a two-time Super Bowl winner from the New England Patriots. They're going to transition him from offensive lineman to center because they lost their center, Trey Hopkins, and I guess they just didn't resign him. And they also signed Hayden Hurst. They lost C.J. Uzama and replaced him with Hayden Hurst, and I'm really familiar with him because Baltimore Ravens are the team that drafted him. Me personally, I don't think we should have let him go. He's not upper tier tight end, but he gets the job done. For him being a little bit older, he does have speed, he can block, and he has very reliable hands. So, another excellent pickup for the Cincinnati Bengals. I just think that as far as free agency goes, they knocked it out the park. Now, they did lose Larry Ogunjobi, the defensive tackle. That might hurt a little bit with the pass rush because defensively, Cincinnati was okay. Like I said, timely plays, but that was one loss I didn't expect them to have, and I actually thought that the Ravens were going to pick them up, but it didn't happen. Now, let's move on to the draft. First round, they picked Daxton Hill, the safety from Michigan. Now, Daxton Hill is the brother of Justice Hill, running back for the Baltimore Ravens. I'm not sure if they're actually going to play Daxton as a safety or a nickel corner. That he might do a little bit of both. I'm hearing that he's practicing or doing some things at corner because they actually picked up 3 safeties. They picked up a safety in the second round with their second pick, and they also picked up the safety in the 5th round. They already have Jesse Bates and I'm not sure that they're going to keep 7 safeties on their roster. They have Von Bell. I know that with Jesse Bates, he has until the Friday to kind of get a long-term deal with the Bengals going, or he's going to have to remain on his franchise tag. Now, maybe this is a transition for Bates to go elsewhere, and Daxton's going to take over for him. Who's to say? In the 4th round, they also selected another offensive lineman to kind of shore that up, because if there were 2 things that the Cincinnati Bengals had a lack of, it was offensive line play and it was secondary play. I know they resigned Eli Apple, which is kind of good news for the rest of the AFC North. We welcome that. He's a lot of mouth, but not as much talent. He's not as good as he thinks he is. So we thank them for re-signing him. The Bengals actually stayed fully healthy last year, and with that going forward, they still have some pieces. They have Jamar Chase, be a 1-year wonder, but he actually did very well for them. Very well. They also have DJ Reader and Mike Hilton. Mike Hilton came over from Pittsburgh, and he's one of the most underrated corners in the NFL, and he did a hell of a job last year, even though they really targeted Eli Apple because they knew what was up. So my range for the Cincinnati Bengals going into next season is going to be 12-5. I said Cincinnati might go 12-5 up to 14-3 as a high. I think that they took care of most of their weaknesses. Joe Burrow is another season healthy. Jamar Chase has another year in the NFL to where he's not figuring things out. He kind of knows what to do. So I think that they may possibly win a division again. They may repeat as division winners, depending on what the Baltimore Ravens do as far as this passing game goes. I don't think that running the ball, we are necessarily going to keep up with them. Next up, we have the 2nd place Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers finished 9-7-1. They offensively ranked 29th against the run, 15th against the pass, and 23rd overall. Defensively, they were 32nd against the run, 9th against the pass, 24th overall. Now, most people would say, listen, you have a back-end offense, a back-end defense. How do you make the playoffs? And it all comes down to coaching. People kind of take for granted coaching masks a lot of deficiencies on the team. And Mike Tomlin, rival or not, you have to give that man respect. He is one of the better coaches in the National Football League, hands down. Much respect to him. Hope he falls off. Hope he gets his first losing season. But as far as that goes, that's how you take a deficient team and take them to the playoffs, even though they were exposed by the Kansas City Chiefs. Now let's take a look at Pittsburgh's additions and key departures. Most importantly, let's go to the departures first. Ben Roethlisberger. Long career, battling against him. He is finally gone. I'm mad that he's gone because he was not playing well, and that was to the betterment of our team, and that might help us out. But in addition, they brought in Mitchell Trubisky. Is he any better? We'll see. I think he's going to do a lot better than most people give him credit for. I just think that he's not as bad. Matt Nagy is his coach in Chicago, just didn't know what to do with him. They didn't know how to coach him. I'm not too high on North Carolina quarterbacks, but I think he's not going to be a star, but he is going to be a lot better than most people think, and especially with the weapons the Pittsburgh Steelers have. They also brought in Miles Jack to boost up the defense. They brought in Larry Ogunjobi from Cincinnati. He failed a physical, and that's how Pittsburgh got a hold of him. They also brought in Levi Wallace from Buffalo. Now, I think that's going to help out because as of now, Joe Hayden is no longer with the team. I don't know if they're going to sign him later on. If injury happens, he's going to come back. But as of now, I think Levi Wallace is going to be one of the starters. And one of the more important additions that I think a lot of people are tending to overlook is the addition of Coach Flores. Coach Brian Flores, you have another head coach on your coaching staff. Now, we can tell you firsthand, playing him, that man knows defense. Like, he can scheme up some defenses because down in Miami, some of those Dolphins teams overachieved. Like they won 7 straight last year, I think. And that's all because of coaching. Because talent-wise, some of those years they didn't have the talent, but that coach overcame what he didn't have, and lifted them up to more than what they should have been, just like the Steelers. So once again, coaching plays a viable part in having a successful team. Now let's look at a couple of the draft picks. They picked up Kenny Pickett from Pittsburgh, the quarterback. I guess they figured, hey, we're not going to make the mistake that we made back in '83 with Dan Marino of having somebody in our backyard and letting him get away. We're going to take this quarterback and groom him, and he's going to be the replacement. So he and Mitchell Trubisky are going to battle it out to be the starting quarterback. In the second round, they took George Pickens. Now, George Pickens is somebody that I really wanted. I think that as a whole, on the Ravens, we need a wide receiver with a little bit of attitude. We need somebody with some nastiness that's willing to fight somebody, that's going to punk some of these cornerbacks to let them know, look, I'm not just going to run up and down this field and let you manhandle me. But that's a story for another time. In the fourth round, this one hurt a little bit. I think the pettiness in the team rivalry actually came out between the Steelers and the Ravens, because I think the Steelers kind of knew the Ravens were looking at Calvin Austin III out of Memphis and said, you know what, we're going to grab him first and y'all can go do something else. That one hurt me to my heart, just like the George Pickens. Once again, we have a team that doesn't necessarily need a slew of wide receivers, but they went out and got some. Make that offense better. If your quarterback is lacking, you put weapons around him that can make plays and make things happen. So that's what Pittsburgh's doing. Now, team-wise, what can you say? You have to start in this team with TJ half of a football field, whether it's rushing the passer or stopping the run. I give it to him. Hell of a defensive player. They also have Deontay Johnson, Najee Harris, Cameron Haywood, and Minka Fitzpatrick. Like, they have people on this team to get the job done. It's just an issue of them showing up the offensive line and getting that quarterback play that they need. Now, as far as record-wise goes, I think that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to finish third in the division. They will not make the wild card again. They will probably be, at worst, they'll be 9-8, and at best they will be 11-6. So that is my prediction for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Next up, we have the third place Cleveland Browns, who finished the 2021 season with an 8-9 record, just above the Baltimore Ravens because of tiebreakers. Let's take a look at this team. Offensively, the Cleveland Browns were 4th against the run, 27th against the pass, which put them at 18th overall. Defensively, they were 12 against the run, they were 5th against the pass, and they were 5th overall. Now, over the last 3-4 seasons, Cleveland Browns have had no problems defensively. Like, they have always been defensive stalwarts. It's just the offense has let them down time and time again. This year, maybe a little bit different. We have to wait on the court system and some judgments from some higher ups there. That's going to kind of determine the fate of the Cleveland Browns going into next season. So with that being said, let's take a look at some of the additions and departures. Now, the most important addition is got to be Deshaun Watson. A healthy, non-suspended Deshaun Watson changes the fortunes of the Cleveland Browns, hands down. Like, Baker Mayfield took them to a playoff win with his limited skill set. So Deshaun Watson, to me, easily top 10 quarterback. So he takes this team to another level. Another addition is Amari Cooper. That gives them number one wide receiver with the departure of Jarvis Landry and them no longer having Odell Beckham. Amari Cooper is not a favorite because, what is this, his third team in the NFL? He's a number one. He just doesn't have, to me, that mean streak needed to take over games. He kind of gets lost in the shuffle at the end of games, but he is better than what I feel the Cleveland Browns have had. Another pickup they had was Jacoby Brissett. Now, Jacoby's going to be important if Deshaun gets suspended. The word is that Deshaun is going to get maybe 4 to 6 games. If Jacoby can win 3 out of 6, maybe, then Cleveland might stand a chance. With all this uncertainty, it kind of knocks them down a peg. Missed time, morale, that can kind of stunt the growth of a team. So let's look at what they did in the draft. So in the draft, the Cleveland Browns did not have a first round pick because of the Deshaun Watson trade. So in the third round, they took a cornerback, Martin Emerson, out of Mississippi State. Did they need it? I'm not sure. You know, they have Denzel Ward. They have Greedy Williams. They had a secondary. To me, wide receiver might have been the better need because behind Amari, to me, they don't really have much. I think Donovan Peoples-Jones is still there. They picked up Jakeem Grant from Chicago, but he's more of a return specialist than he is a wide receiver. Now, he gives you plays here and there, but consistently playing wide receiver, I don't see it. But they did pick up a wide receiver in the third round. And in the sixth round, Robert Woods might turn out to be something. I'm not sure. Why they picked a running back in the fifth round. If it was me, I'd have went wide receiver, just to give Jacoby and Deshaun somebody to throw to, because they don't really have anybody. Now, David Njoku, you don't know what you're getting with him. He, to me, has been very inconsistent throughout his career. So we don't know what's going to happen with that. They did take a center in the seventh round because they lost J.C. Tretter. I don't know if they have a plan to switch somebody else to center, but that seventh round center better be something. If not, they may be in trouble. Now, once again, defensively, they have everything they need. Offensively, they have some pieces. They still have Nick Johnson, and even with that fifth round selection of the running back, they have Dearness Johnson, who did pretty well when Chubb and Hunt were injured last year. So my predictions for the Cleveland Browns, I was pretty high on them beginning of the offseason, but with all the suspension talk and everything else going on, I think that the Cleveland Browns are going to come in last place, and they're going to repeat their 8-9 record with a high of 10-7. But I do really believe that they'll be 8-9, especially if Deshaun misses too many games. All right, last but certainly not least, we have my Baltimore Ravens, who finished the 2021 season with an 8-9 record. As we all know, they started off 8-3, doing pretty well, even with the slew of injuries. But once Lamar went down, it pretty much went downhill. Season turned around. We ended the season on a 6-game losing streak. It is what it is. So we have a new year to kind of get things right, turn time back, dominate this division, and hopefully win it again. Now, as far as the offense and defense goes, offensively, we were ranked 3rd rushing, 13th passing, and we were 6th overall. Now, as I stated before with coaching, how coaching matters is, yes, we were the 6th overall offense, but as far as scoring offense goes, we were 17th. And that 17th ranking is the difference between you being a wild card and you staying home for the playoffs. Now, defensively, we were 1st against the run, 32nd against the pass, and 25th overall. Now, were we number 1 against the run because we couldn't stop the pass, or vice versa? Who knows? But hopefully, once we get a healthy roster, we can kind of see where this team is at. You know, we have a new defensive coordinator, Mike McDonald. Hopefully, he runs a different defensive scheme where we're not blitzing all the time, even in situations where the team knows it's coming, in dire situations that can win or lose a game. Hopefully, there is strategy involved and not just blitz. Hopefully. Now, let's get to some of the additions and departures. Now, as far as additions go, one of the first free agent signings that we had was safety Marcus Williams from the New Orleans Saints. Hopefully, he's going to cover the back end, stop anything from going over their heads, cut down on the big plays for $70 million. I hope well so. We also picked up tackle Morgan Moses from the New York Jets. Now, hopefully, we've got somebody to man that right side, and he can be there for a couple seasons while we let some of the youngsters kind of get their feet wet and get things on the wraps. And hopefully, Ronnie Stanley's healthy. We also signed Kyle Fuller to kind of be our third cornerback, give us some depth there, even though we drafted two and had a slew of others on the roster. Now, departures hurt me to my heart. I don't have Hollywood Brown. He's no longer with the team. He's up in Arizona. Good luck to him, but we need to find a replacement. Another one that hurt me to my heart, Jimmy Smith. I remember when we drafted him, I was hoping and praying. Unfortunately, injuries kind of took its toll on him and his career and his legacy as a Baltimore Raven. We also lost Tavon Young, our nickel corner. Once again, another talented player that injuries kind of robbed him a bit of his potential. We also lost center Bradley Bozeman. Now, as far as the draft goes, we picked up Kyle Hamilton and Tyler Linderbaum in the first round. Now, that Tyler Linderbaum pick is supposed to make up for Bradley Bozeman. For me, hopefully, it's going to give us kind of some stability as far as the center position goes, as far as snaps go. Hopefully, we will run some under center type stuff. This shotgun, this pistol, this nonsense of doing this in the rain, doing this in hurricanes, we need to be under center. And hopefully this selection solidifies that and says, hey, we have a rookie under center. Let's stop with the shotgun. Let's stop with the pistol. Let him get his feet wet, go under center, keep teams guessing. And it was a pick that I really liked. I also liked our 4th round pick, Daniel Fa'alele. He is a humongous man. I think he's a bit of a project. It's going to take him a little bit of time to get acclimated, but I think going on, he's going to be another Orlando Brown Jr. type of player. I think he has that potential, but I just don't think it's going to be a this season type of thing. Now, we also drafted 2 tight ends and 2 corners in the 4th round. Hopefully, Charlie Kolar or Isaiah Likely pans out to be the number 3 tight end. Somehow the Baltimore Ravens are going to revolutionize the NFL and come out with 4 or 5 tight end sets, set the world ablaze. John Harbaugh said, hey, we're going to make you an offense that nobody's ever seen before. And I believe you, champ. I believe one day we will see 5 tight ends hit the field, and that'll be the day I lose my mind. But I don't know. In the 6th round, we also picked up a running back, Tyler Beatty. And I think that was an excellent selection. We need that running back that can catch out of the backfield. I know we have J.K. Dobbins, but sometimes his hands are a little bit suspect. Beatty was known for catching passes out of the backfield. What does that mean for Justice Hill? I'm not sure. I think his career and the injuries might put an end to him, but he is good on special teams, and that is one saving grace in a John Harbaugh organization. Special teams. If you can do special teams, you have a place in his heart. Now, as far as the roster goes, of course, we got in my man 50 grand, Justin Tucker. So with that being said, I think that the Baltimore Ravens will finish 2nd in the division. Now, if we were to kind of fall into something wide receiver-ish and schemish during training camp, we may overtake the Bengals for number 1. But if we do not, I think we are destined to be 2nd in this division. I think at the most we will be 12-5, and at the least we will be 9-8. I know that we have this all-universe secondary. I know that everybody believes that we should be number one in the pass, against the pass. I think hands down we should be, but without a pass rush, it's going to be kind of hard. If we don't find a way to get to the quarterback, you cannot cover all day. Like, it's just impossible. It's impossible to follow someone around for more than 5 seconds, especially everybody. So if we don't get that pass rush going, we may be in trouble. So we need to pick somebody up. But if we get that pass rush going, we can do some things. We can cause some damage. But if not, I don't see us being at the top of the hill. I think Cincinnati still has control of this division, because even winning it the way that they did, because we were injured. We weren't injured. We'd have won last year, but they addressed weaknesses. We didn't address weaknesses. We addressed best player available, aside from picking up some offensive linemen. And Ronnie Stanley is the key. Without Ronnie Stanley being healthy, we are having a whole nother conversation here. Because now we have to flip Morgan Moses over to the left side. And as far as the right goes, don't really know what we're going to do about that. We may have to throw for Lele in there early. I'm not for certain. But we should be second in the division. We should make the playoffs. AFC Championship game or bust. That's my hopes. I mean, we should win the Super Bowl, but this Lamar situation has given me pause. This organizational philosophy has given me pause. I'm not for certain, but I'm hopeful. And this has been your pre-training camp AFC North look with your man Hendo. So until next time,